Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Cold Hard Sports Talk with your hosts, Matty B and Woodsy.
Alrighty, we are joined here with our guest. It is the return of the Mad Dog, Peter DeSalvo. Pete, how's it been going? How have things been since we last had you on the podcast a couple months ago?
Things have been good, man. Can't complain at all. Loving life, and excited to have a little bit of time off right now and then soon to be getting ready to get back into it for next season.
So I feel a bit out of place on this podcast because we're sitting here with two goalies, and I'm just some lanky player that failed hockey. So I feel a little bit out of place here.
Now you know how it feels whenever teams gang up on the two goalies.
Yeah, exactly.
Get used to it.
Teams have a vote on something. Goalie votes never count.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we have the numbers advantage, and it's a scary moment.
Yeah.
I'll talk about big news about what's happened since we had you last on. We talked about it when you were on. You had, I believe, just gotten your 100th SPHL win, and now you are the current all-time record holder for most wins in SPHL history. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone who follows along with their social media saw we were tracking along with you, watching the games, trying to be right there when you finally got the record. It was nice to see. Can you talk us through just kind of like your feelings, like the game of, and when you kind of knew that was the one where you were going to get the record?
Yeah. So the weekend that it happened, I just came off of COVID protocol. I ended up catching the virus, but so that sucked. But getting back into it, the first two games, I'm pretty sure were against Birmingham, and that's when they were kind of like on their decline. And like they're not a bad team by any means, but it's just the groove that they're in. So it was a nice weekend to get back into things. The first weekend I played back. So when I first got back from the COVID protocol, I didn't play for the first 2 weeks. We kept Rotabush on his roll, and then he got called up to Tulsa. So finally got me back into things. So like the first game was, I wouldn't say easy. I was trying to get my footing back. We came up with the win, and then the next night against Birmingham again, felt more confident going into the game. And then the next night, I was like, okay, one win away now. And this is my third game in 3 nights, and we're going up against Huntsville in Huntsville, and that's always a tough barn to play on the road because for whatever reason they seem to be able to pull things out in their barn compared to road games, especially in Knoxville. Knoxville, I felt they struggled against us majority of the season in our barn, but I just went in and I guess you could say I got extra dialed in and just playing playoffs for like a playoff game for the first time, like a full playoff game for the first time in 3-4 years. Because last year didn't play, year before we didn't make it, and year before I was a backup in the playoffs. So honestly, comparing those two games, I was dialed in like it was a playoff game. Like I treated it like a playoff game. I didn't even realize it at the time because I hadn't played a playoff game in so long, or started a playoff game in so long actually. So emotions are high, and I just went into the game just wanting to stop everything, and I came up with a 3-0 win.
Yeah, what a way to get it done. Like no doubt in your mind, no getting carried, and like oh yeah, I got the record, but I got it in a 7-6 shootout win. Like you earned every bit of that record performance.
Thank you. It reminded me of last year when I played my 200th pro game, and I got a 4-0 win in Evansville.
Never leave any doubt, right? You got to put an emphasis on those big games, right?
I guess so. But for the record, that Evansville game when it was my 200th, I didn't even realize it was my 200th game until afterwards.
Oh,
not one of the guys keeps a tally on the wall.
No. Again, they don't care about us goalies. Remember?
Fair enough. Goalies are always lacking a little love. So you finished the season up with Knoxville. Let's just talk a little bit about your future plans. You got a little cup of coffee, a little weekend with the South Carolina Stingrays in the East Coast. Just walk us through like kind of what you're looking at with your career right now.
Right now, my plan is to be back in Quad City. I've talked with the coach, and the plan is for me to come back. And we still got the protected lists that are supposed to be coming out any day now. Peoria revealed theirs through their local newsstand, PJ Star, and saw some familiar names on there, some names that weren't on the list last season that they're able to put on this year, like Eric Levine was put back on there as their goalie to be protected. Because we have the expansion draft coming up with Danville, or shall I say the Vermilion County Bobcats. Real quick, Vermilion County, just if you would call them Vermilion Bobcats, that would have sounded way better.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah. I believe we were talking about it right when that team got first announced.
Yeah, but just going back to what I was just going on, the plan is to be back in Quad City next season, and I'm pretty sure next season is going to be the last for the Mad Dog.
A little bit of a retirement tour.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm like 100%. Well, let's say 99.9% sure it's going to be the last.
Is it just kind of one of those things where it's like the runway is just kind of, you're getting to that point?
Yeah, well, this year I was planning to be my last, but it being a COVID season and not being able to finish exactly where I want to be. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Knoxville, but I had no idea what it was going to be like coming in and all. And I have love for Quad City, so that was always the plan, and that's kind of what the plan I wanted to finish.
Yeah. So we wish you luck there. Obviously, we're going to be following along with you there. See just how much you can pad this record of yours. Yeah. So we've talked about you for a little bit here. Let's talk a little bit about some NHL hockey you want to get into.
Yes, please.
So now you're an Oakville, Ontario boy. Where I assume most people from there would end up growing up Leafs fans.
Yeah. Not me.
Not you. Once again, it's maybe it's that goalie, having that little bit different in your brain. You're a Montreal Canadiens fan. So
I am.
What's this series been like for a Habs fan? What were your thoughts like going in? Were you having the high expectations that you're going to get through the Leafs? And what are your thoughts through 2 games at the time of recording?
Honestly, I don't expect Montreal to come out with the win. Like, I don't expect them to win the series. I expect it to be a closer series. Like last night's game, even though it was 5-1, the one was empty netter. Like the last 2 games, Carey Price has been the real Carey Price. Like, you can't fault him for 4 goals last night. Like in my personal opinion, and correct me if I am wrong, Montreal gave away too many penalties, but their penalty kill was atrocious up front from the forwards. Whenever they were in zone, every single puck that went to the point, the players were so passive, and there was almost no effort to try to get in front of shots to be blocked or get sticks in lanes. So that's what I saw.
We've seen before. We've seen it. Toronto's one of those power plays where just because of like the top end star power they have on that roster, kind of the only way to play them is to be kind of hyper aggressive. So as soon as you start getting passive and letting them, kind of snap the biscuit around, it's already over.
Yeah, you like if a team's gonna be that aggressive at passing the puck, you gotta be a little more. A little more aggressive passing the puck, and you got to be a little more passive because you got to wait for that perfect opportunity because you don't want to get caught running around. But when the puck goes to the very point and you see that there's absolutely no way to get up there, you got to do something better than just stand there and hope that the puck's going to hit you. You got to start to push out a little bit just to give him a little bit of pressure, because as soon as a little bit of pressure is applied, when you know a guy's going to take a shot, he might screw up the shot. The worst thing you can do by standing around is creating that extra layer of screening your goalie. Like, there was probably 4 or 5 times I can count on one power play where Price was screened by probably 4 or 5 guys just layered, staggered like this. How do you expect them to make every save when you can't see it, especially if a puck finds that little hole?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask is, what are your thoughts on some of the, lineup decisions from the Montreal Canadiens to start this playoffs? There's one guy who I'm thinking of who has not been in the lineup or didn't get in game 1 at least. Should he be in the lineup? Cole Caulfield might be the guy that I'm mentioning here.
Yeah, Yeah, I was surprised by that too. I was surprised that Kotkaniemi didn't dress the first game.
He kind of got his revenge
was
score in the opener in game
yeah,
2, though.
definitely that. But one goal can only do so much at times, you know. But I think he should have definitely been game 1. Caulfield, you know what? I wish he'd play the first game. I wish he'd been in and out. But I can understand, like, he's only played a few games, right? He's inexperienced right now, and at the end of the day, is he playoff ready? You know, playoffs are a whole new ballpark. Like I said, Carey Price had a very inconsistent season, but the last 2 games I've seen the real Carey Price. I've seen the best goalie in the world right now.
Yeah. I think Cole Caulfield is going to be a superstar. Like, I think he's legit.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, I think so too. If he keeps up, he won't be another bust like Galchenyuk and end up in Toronto on the fourth line.
We've yet to see Caulfield really fail at any level he's played at. So until he shows us that he can't keep up, I'm just going to keep believing that he can.
Hey, he's a member of my fantasy team, so
yeah. Matty B's got the biggest head because he grabbed him when he was still in the AHL, and he thinks he's a hot shot over it. But yeah, like right now,
all the hope in the world for him.
I want to talk about the other big Habs prospect that you can really, I'm not sure if you can still quantify him as a prospect now. He's been in the NHL for a couple of years, but one of their hot young guns, Nick Suzuki. What's watching him like for a Habs fan?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Great young kid. He could be the future of the team, like, for later years down the road, you know. Like, I wish Montreal would go into a real rebuilding phase once Price is gone. But I feel like they listen to too many of the old school and French fans that just want them to win all the time, especially the older crowd, because the tradition for them is winning, but they haven't won a cup in almost 30 years now, right? So something different should be done, because, you know, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? I wish they would just let the cards play, start rebuilding, get the young core. When you get that young core, figure out which veterans you need to get in. Like, look at Toronto. They suffered for so many years, and now they're actually a good team. The only thing they've lacked the last couple of years is a goaltending in the playoffs, and maybe a defenseman or two in the playoffs, even the regular season as well. And I have all the hopes in the world for Jack Campbell to succeed as a goalie, not as a Leaf, as a goalie, because he is a great goalie, but again, he's inexperienced, and that can be the downfall for the Leafs right now. Like, if they had gone in 2 or 3 years ago instead of Anderson, I think they would have had more success, because I don't think Anderson's a playoff goalie at all. He's never been. Look at his record with Anaheim before in the past too. He screwed them over so many years.
Yeah, that's a statement.
A great
I'm sure
regular season goalie, but come playoff time, he seems to crumble a little bit. Like, I mean, I believe it was 2 years ago that he had like a pretty good first round, but outside of that, he's been really inconsistent.
And I mean, even that, like, you have a pretty good first round against Boston. That's probably not enough.
Exactly.
No, it's not. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, it's a team effort. You can't blame everything on a goalie, but when you see a goalie laying in like some routine saves that guys need to be stopping, like, especially last year, that last game against Columbus, in that last game he played, that first goal he let in, short block or far blocker side, I guess, off a rush. That's a routine save he's got to make.
Yeah. I want to talk about one last guy on the Canadiens who's really he's always been good, but this year he's really kind of emerged and gotten a lot of people looking at him as like a top end player, and that's Jeff Petrie on the point. What were your thoughts on his season? Like, one of the top defensemen in point scoring throughout the year, and everyone can say, you know, North Division, whatever. He had a phenomenal year, and you can't take much away from that.
I think he's been great. I especially last year in the playoffs. The numbers he put up, especially on the scoreboard and all that, assists and goals. You know, I think Petrie's been amazing. Like, him and Weber, guaranteed top 2 on the team for D-men, and, you know, I just love them both together.
Yeah, I've loved Jeff Petrie back to his Edmonton days, so I've got a real fond connection with him. So I always love to see him do well. Obviously, I didn't like to see him do well in that the first series of the year where Montreal just beat the hell out of Edmonton, and he had like 4 points in his first 2 games against us. But besides that, I really enjoy watching him play well. Another big story going on in the playoffs this year is Marc-Andre Fleury, and it's I believe 15th straight season he's played playoff hockey, and obviously not net for all of those seasons. A couple of those where Matt Murray took the net, he was along for the ride, but still he's been a part of it every year.
Yeah.
And now this year at his age, just having statistically the best playoffs he's had yet.
Best season he's had in his career.
Best season he's had in his career. Game 1, obviously the 1-0 loss where he was on the wrong side of the shutout. Can't fault him for that.
No.
Game 4, he put up the 4-0 shutout. He's played phenomenal every game. Just what are your thoughts on the season Fleury's had?
Was the best goalie in the NHL this season, hands down. There is no arguing that. Hands down, there was no arguing that. Is Vegas a good team? Yes, but he's that guy in the back end that's making up for their mistakes when they come. And it's not, don't get me wrong, I know he's not facing he's not facing like 15 to 20 scoring chances that some other goalies do on okay teams, but he's making those 3 to 6 or 7 big saves every single night that your team needs to win. And I hate saying this, but Leonard's injury was a blessing to him because it gave him an opportunity to shine again and show Vegas why he's their true number 1 goalie.
Absolutely. And
so is he your Vezina pick then?
100%. There's no other goalie in the league that deserves it over him. No way Vasilevsky deserves it. I don't even know who's the third nominee again? I forget.
It would probably be Grubauer.
Yeah, no,
who's had a phenomenal year.
Grubs has been good too. I'll give Grubauer that, but Fleury's been the best in the league by far.
Yeah,
now,
by far.
Maybe you can kind of agree with this or not, but it's something goalies like to say, and it's said often about goalies when they're playing well. When you have a goalie in net who the team believes in, it gives them the ability to take those extra chances too, and play aggressive when they're not worried about a goalie who, like, any shot on net has a chance of going in. Then it gives you kind of the freedoms offensively to take chances, gives the defenseman the ability to jump in the rush, knowing that if there's a 2-on-1 the other way, it's not a guaranteed goal. When you have a guy playing the way Fleury is, when it's like, even when you're giving up high quality chances, they're not going in, then it just gives you that freedom, that ability to take an extra breath and be able to try stuff too. So he just gives that extra layer to the Golden Knights. Like if the Golden Knights had, say, any other goalie, they had, Linus Ullmark or just another run-of-the-mill goalie in nets, then I don't think they're as good or intimidating offensively either.
Hey, don't shut up Linus Ullmark. Don't do that.
No, I've been a big fan of Ullmark, but I just want a league average goal.
Put it this way: they're not a team like Tampa Bay was last year, where their players did all the work, or the year that Chicago won when they had Niemi in net.
Yeah, they're not one of those teams that could win with a shooter two today.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not a team that's going to win solely on goaltending. They have the firepower up front, but they're a team that likes to go and create those chances for themselves, knowing that Fleury's back there to make those big saves, even though they're not trying to create those chances for other teams, but they do happen because of the style that they play.
And we saw this year Fleury climbing up the all-time wins leader charts with, say what you want about the cups. He's got 3 cups on his resume. He's been a phenomenal goalie year in, year out, multiple 35 plus win seasons. He does not have a Vezina.
He has not won a Vezina yet. Okay, right.
Which is insane.
Which he could get this year, but as of what he's done so far, so let's say pre-Vezina, pre-Stanley Cup this year, just based on what he's done up until today, where does Marc-Andre Fleury rank on your all-time greatest goalies list?
All-time greatest? I can't really do an all-time list because I'm 30 years old. I remember watching hockey in the 90s, and compared to now, you can't compare a lot of the same goalies from then to now. It's impossible. The only goalie you can say is a guaranteed best of all time is Patrick Waugh. He's the only one you could put at number 1.
Yeah.
And the only reason that you can keep him at number 1 is because he's the only goalie in the world that's still relevant to the game now.
Oh yeah, that's one way to look at it.
He's won everything aside from a gold medal in the Olympics, which guaranteed he would have had it if he didn't sit out in 2002. right? He took time. He won the cup that year, so and if you look at his playing style and career from his first year with Montreal to his last year at Colorado, was he the same goalie? No. He created the butterfly style. The game and goaltending has evolved from that style and has continuously gotten better. And I guaranteed if he was young enough to still be playing now, he'd still be one of the best because he was able to evolve with the game and make goaltending better in hockey today. The only other goalie that was old school that continued to play as long as he did because he evolved with the game was Ed Belfour.
Yeah,
I like that justification a lot. Normally, when you're talking like goats, there's like the big Marty Brodeur just because of the numbers he put up and all that, but he also had the benefit of putting up a lot of those numbers with playing 70 plus games
systems
with the tightest defense only system around him.
I remember I think it was Curtis Joseph's last year or second last year at Toronto when they got eliminated by the Devils. There was one game where like Toronto was a top team that year, but New Jersey limited them to under 20 shots a game. And one game Brodeur only faced 11 shots in the playoffs.
Which is wild.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't get me wrong, Brodeur is awesome, but look at his last couple of years, at least his last 2 years in the NHL. He was garbage because the style that he played. Did he make great saves? Yeah, but every good goalie makes good saves. Even Louis Domingue makes great saves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I get that. And I'd say Patrick Waugh it's kind of one of those situations where the old adage where it's like, oh, he's your favorite goalie's favorite goalie, where he kind of revolutionized the position so much and he kind of paved the way for a lot of goalies who are successful today to have the success they have based on the style that he introduced.
Yeah. And even when he introduced it, he kept making it better as he went along.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, Jake, you're more of a dominator guy.
I'm in the Dominic Hasek group just because of how truly insane and like the fact that it couldn't be replicated. He's the only one who could play that style and have success. And the fact that like when you look at like the all-time like save percentage leaders, he was playing in those like eras too. And he's like you look at like Marty Brodeur, he's like got a career like 911 save percentage. Like Dominic Hasek's up above 920. Like
Hasek is definitely, I would say, top 5 all time if you're going to compare every single generation of goalies. But he made his game so hard on himself. Imagine if he had a more structural style, but was still able to flop around when he needed to, because he flopped around on even the most simplest shots. And some of those simple shots where he decided to flop the goal, the puck went in the net, and I would consider that a bad goal.
Oh, for sure. I think it's one of those things where I was kind of like growing up watching him and, you know, seeing him at kind of the tail end of his career. But like, I'd watch all these, like, as a young goalie does, I'd watch all these like highlight packages on YouTube of like greatest saves of all time or whatever. And it's like him sprawling, getting a blocker on something. On something, and it looks awesome. And as like a 7-year-old goalie seeing that, it's like, man, I love that. I don't want to hit my position either. I want to be out of the crease and dive back in.
I still watch those highlights too. Like just to get into a playoff groove, I started watching old school highlights, just of the goalies I watched growing up and some of the current goalies. Like Hasek was one of the ones I watched. One of the first ones I watched was Mike Richter, because he was like that too. But Richter, as his career went along, got more structural, but was still able to sprawl like he did and flip like he did, but still have that little bit of that butterfly style. And I guaranteed if he never had that career-ending injury, you would have seen him continue to get more structural, but still be able to do the old school stuff that he did when he had to. Because there's sometimes you can't play structural. Sometimes you just got to battle and get in front of it.
I'm not sure if there was a goalie who looked better doing a kick save than Mike Richter.
Oh, agree.
Just like that iconic, like kicking out the pad, getting the skate on it.
Or making a barehanded save.
True.
Oh,
true.
Yeah.
My first mask was painted like his.
Really?
Is Mike Richter's one of your favorite goalies, right? He's kind of one of your, kind of like
one of my definitely. He's definitely up there for one of my favorites too. Yeah, my first mask that I ever had painted was I played for the Oakville Rangers. We looked like New York,
Mhm.
and my parents got my mask painted exactly like his. Just instead of New York, it said Oakville along the side, and on the logo on the front, and instead of the Statue of Liberty on top, it was a bulldog.
There you go.
I love it. So good. It's good to get a little insight on kind of like your few favorite players there. Can you give us just right now looking at the playoff landscape and how everything is? A couple series as we record on Sunday are on the edge of elimination. What are your thoughts for deep in the playoffs? Who do you have winning the cup, and what do you think is going to happen from here?
I think that I can't say who for sure is going to win a cup, but I think it's going to be either Vegas or Colorado.
Yeah, I picked Colorado. I'm on the Colorado train.
Yeah, from the East, well, I don't even know how it worked with the divisions, but from the other division, I don't even know. Like, I don't see Toronto winning. I could see them going to the semifinals and all, but I don't see Toronto winning.
They could have competed, but like losing John Tavares, that's a death blow. Like you're trying to go line for line against Tampa Bay, and now you don't have one of the best second line centers in the game.
But if Tampa Bay can do it without Stamkos, so could Toronto.
Fair.
Yeah.
The president has been said that teams can overcome stuff like this.
I kind of hope karma hits the Lightning, because they basically just screwed the LTIR rules and were able to get Cooch back.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the
$9 million cap hit?
Why don't the rest of the teams just put their top guys in the IR until playoffs now?
Yeah. Oh, he's got a hip injury. He's got to have surgery.
I threw this idea out. We have a little group chat with some of our hockey friends. I threw the idea out of what if you just had your best player, like if you had a good enough team, like not if like you're like a fringe playoff team trying to get in, but like if you're like a team like Tampa Bay where you could sit your entire first line and still be a playoff team. What if you just had your top guy be playoff only and show up fresh as hell every year, well rested, no injuries?
Oh my God.
He was dealing with some vertigo all year, so we had to have him sit up, but he's good for playoffs.
It is such a dumb loophole. I can't stand it. I can't believe that they're allowed to get away with that. The league has to look into something and be like, no, the rules still apply for playoffs too.
Something like that. Yeah, like you have to be like cap compliant to start playoffs or something like.
Or even something like a minimum games played requirement where it's like, if you weren't healthy enough to play any of the 56 playoff games, then you don't get to play playoffs.
That could work too. We have a rule like that in the SP. The SP, it's only 5 games. You have to play 5 games, or for goalies, it's just stress 5 games. But
it's that prevents the drop downs, right?
It's the classic beer league rule where you can't bring out your ringer buddy for playoffs if he's never played with you during the season.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Classic beer league rule.
Doesn't always work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've had a couple where we've kind of got it out where we're playing with some of our buddies in like garbage tier beer league, and we bring out a guy who just got out of the AJ.
Or you bring me out there, right?
Or bring you out there. I'm pretty sure the one game we brought you out for, we lost, and I have never been shelled for more goals due to lack of a back check.
Yeah, and the worst is when your team captain brings in the ringer he brings in is a defenseman that tries to play offense the whole time. He's supposed to play defense, and you get screwed even more because the forwards don't want to back check.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
It's 3-on-1 galore the other way.
Yeah, it's like, guys, I'm not Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah. and everyone knows in beer league, once the 3-on-1 happens, no forward is catching back to make it a 3-on-2 or anything. No. They see how the 3-on-1 plays out, so they can get the odd man rush the other way if they miss.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
So we wanted to throw a little thing at you here. So got a little contract in the coast. We've seen people before. We've seen even a couple of years ago. Andrew Hammond starts his year out in the coast, and then by the end of the year, he was going on that insane run in Ottawa. And I'd say you have a better nickname than the Hamburglar, so I think you have a shot if they're just going on nicknames alone.
All right.
But we're saying
if you got the NHL call up
and you need to be prepared. You need to have the right mindset, especially watching how some of these playoff games are going, how the new divisions are having these intense rivalries. If you're in net for a line brawl, we want to throw some names at you. Who do you think you could take if you had to do that goalie fight?
We'll throw your names we want to throw at you.
We'll throw, let's say, you got just, some young hot shot like a Carter Hart against you. You think you're going out there, putting the kid in his place?
Yeah.
Easy. No hesitation on that.
Carter. I think I got a chance against Carter Hart.
Cat Hat.
Alrighty, so how about, another guy who I'm not sure if there's another goalie in the league who more goalies would enjoy punching in the face than Jordan Binnington.
All I'd have to do is go up to him and say, remember when I beat you in your OHL debut 9-1?
Wait, the fight's already over there. It's already done.
Yeah, so
you just shelled him for 9 goals in his OHL debut.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's a fun story to have on your resume.
Yeah, but then all he has to say, hey, I'm the one making millions now. Where are you?
Hey, I've got a Stanley Cup. Right, yeah.
Yeah, one and done.
Yeah.
All right, now let's throw out, what if you were against, a legitimate tough guy, like a Mike Smith in net?
No.
Not a chance.
No, Mike Smitty would tear me apart. Yeah, what is he? 6'5"? I'm only 5'11".
Oh yeah, he's massive. We saw he went up against the goalie who was more his size, and Cam Talbot, and still beat the hell out of him.
Oh yeah.
What about Cam Talbot?
He's only 6'3".
I think I could hang on with him. I think it can go either way with him, because I feel like I watched that Minnesota Wild segment that they have on YouTube, Becoming Wild, with him on there, and he seems like a very stand-up guy. So I think if it came down to a fight, and I think the same thing happened with him, with Smith. He went in there he didn't want to fight, but he did, and just whatever happened kind of happened. So I think with me and him, if something was to happen, something bad, or one of us just I'm done, he'd be okay, we're good, that type of thing. It would be very respectful, where it's almost if he hit me in the face real hard, I could see him being you good? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Don't remember, I don't know the guy personally, but yeah. I get that kind of vibe from
He's just
from
such
him.
A really kind dude, right? It just feels everybody loves him, right?
Yeah.
And now the big question, if you had to fight beloved Montreal Canadiens goalie Carey Price, line brawl starts, Carey skates out to half ice.
I would just get down on my knees and start bowing down to him.
That's fair.
Fair response from a Habs fan.
Carey's, I think I don't know, he's not a fighter or anything. No. He's not he can be intimidating at times, but if we were to square off, I think he would have the better of me.
And just while talking about Carey Price here, where do you think he stands among legacy for Montreal Canadiens goalies? Obviously, he doesn't have the fact that he was on a team that wins 9 cups in 10 years or whatever. But just for what he's done kind of in his era where teams aren't winning long stretches of Stanley Cups, where do you think he ranks up against some of the Canadian greats?
I'd put him at number 2 behind Wall.
2? There's a case to be made that was around 2014 to 2016 Carey Price, before his injuries kind of kept adding up when he was really at his peak, was the best goaltending in the NHL that there's ever been.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite goalie.
Far and above the best goalie on planet Earth for those
definitely.
Years.
Yeah. It was the teams just didn't have an answer for him. Any given game, he could go out and make 40 saves without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, definitely. You want to know something funny that I've noticed with his inconsistent seasons, and maybe his first couple, just before Halak got traded, I think they were. But every year that he was very inconsistent, aside from last year when he went back and forth between the all red set and all white set. Other than that season, every year he's been inconsistent. He was not wearing all white pads. Every year that he's been inconsistent, he had like solid pads or mixed match with a lot of red and a lot of blue, and that's including this year.
Huh.
Hmm.
Might have to
And
get
then
some
Interesting.
scientific.
We'll talk to Satoshi. He's our cognitive development trainer we interviewed in Ontario. He's got a lot. He's like a university professor. He's probably the most educated guy we've ever had on. We'll talk to him about it. See if he can give us a definitive answer. That's interesting. I never noticed that.
Yeah, if you go back,
I would have never noticed.
Like if you go back and look at the seasons where he went the first year, he switched into all red pads full time, and then in playoffs tried to go back to all white, but he wasn't playing. That was the year Halak was playing on, and then as soon as he went back to wearing all white pads consistently, that's when he got his better seasons aside from the injury years. And then as soon as he went back to getting some color in, that's when he was inconsistent, and then he went back to all white, and he's playing consistent again.
Do you think there's anything too? Because I remember like as a kid shopping for goalie pads and hearing the like, oh, well, if you have the white pads, it makes it harder to like pick out the holes. And if you have the colored pads, then shooters can see it better. Like, do you think there's anything to that?
I don't think it's anything to do with that, because at the end of the day, the pads are the same size. And if you're in position, if you're in the right position, you're going to make saves. It's just an illusion. It's more of an illusion to the players. But again, was he really facing that many more shots that year too? Or was he facing least shots? I don't know. But all I know is he was making a hell of a lot more bigger saves and playing more consistent when he wears all white.
Is it maybe like a confidence thing too? Like I don't know.
I don't know, because I don't know how he approaches everything. Because like, don't get me wrong, I don't think he thinks about that, because if he wanted to, he could get an all white set whenever he wants, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
He doesn't, and either that or he's like, no, I just got to keep doing this because I got to play well at some point. It's like a player not scoring a goal with a stick. He'll keep using the same stick until he scores a goal.
Fair. Yeah, that's one of those interesting things. I'll have to I'll go back and like look into this. Like, yeah, that's what a weird thing. Also, just like on the Carey Price train, what do you think Carey Price has kind of left in the tank? Like, do you think he's like getting to the point where the injuries are kind of like taken away, or is he still kind of capable of being the best in the world?
I think he's still capable. I think he just needs a fresh start. I think going, like, say Montreal didn't protect him and Seattle took him, I think that would be a great thing for him, to be honest. Get a fresh start somewhere else. And then if that doesn't work out, that's when maybe he'll realize, okay, like I'm coming towards the end. Maybe I should just stop now while I'm still ahead in a way. And like, it sucks because the only thing he hasn't won is the cup. He's won everything else but a Stanley Cup. When it comes to international play and the NHL, he's even got an AHL championship, right? The only thing he's missing is the Stanley Cup. I think he just needs a fresh start somewhere. And as much as I hate to lose him in Montreal, for him personally, I think it would be a good thing because the guy deserves a Stanley Cup.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
It just kind of cements the legacy too if he does win one, right?
Yeah. No, definitely.
It's kind of the same thing as like if Fleury gets his Vezina this year. It's like he's got the great, career, he's got the great numbers, but it's like you're missing that one last thing. Then people are going to say, why didn't he get that thing if he was so great? And it's the same case for players too.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, too, you can't look at numbers and trophies and all that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, it comes down to performance and how relevant it can be to the game today, and what that player did for himself and for his team. Because if it came down to awards and numbers, nobody would pay attention to the game.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the old thing where it's like the difference between just looking at the numbers and the actual eye test of watching hockey. All the stuff that you can't actually quantify.
Exactly. And guys don't even look into other little numbers. Like we're talking about earlier with New Jersey. How many shots did Brodeur really face in his career? If you want to compare that to saying, oh, he's got all these wins, but look how many shots he was facing per game.
Yeah. And then they're getting more into it with like all the advanced data now, but then you look at like the high danger scoring chances where it's like, he had a higher goals against, but he was getting twice as many dangerous chances a game. Brodeur had to stop 2 dangerous chances a game and would get a win.
Yeah. The one new stat that I hate, and I don't like how they enforce this, because it just sounds like a dumb stat. It's like goals saved above average.
Or like
below.
goals above expected or whatever.
It's like, get rid of that.
Yeah.
You can't base a goalie off of that, because at the end of the day, yeah, it might be his fault that the stat isn't good for him, but at the end of the day, it could be the team that he's on. Like, look at Detroit. You got Thomas Greiss and Bernier, two great goalies, but they're on a crap team. And you're like, oh, we don't expect them to make that many saves, so we're gonna put it on this scale for them. You know what I mean? It's like, get that out of here. Like, they could, if Dominic Hasek could steal a bunch of games for Buffalo when they weren't very good, these guys good too. But unfortunately, the way the game is played today, it would be very hard for Hasek in his prime to save a team from not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
I've got something on the kind of the Carey Price Fleury train ish. If you are the GM of Team Canada for the Olympics, who are your 3 goaltenders that you are taking to Beijing or wherever the Olympics are in a couple years?
Price and Fleury for sure. Number 3.
Really?
Yeah, Price and Fleury 100%. You 100%. And
then you got some young guns like a Mackenzie Blackwood, a Carter Hart, even like a Darcy Kemper who's at the World Championships right now.
Yeah, I don't know who I'd bring in as a third. I'd have to look through the rosters and look at performance and all that kind of stuff. But those guys are definitely in talks. Like Carter Hart would be great, but I don't think he's ready yet, especially with the season he had this year too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, he's gonna bounce back. If he doesn't bounce back, I'd be very surprised. But
as
again,
a Flyers fan, I sure hope so.
I mean, you look at it too. What goalies in the NHL today were at their peak at 22 years old?
Exactly.
Most of them weren't in the NHL at his age, so
Patrick
he has
Waugh.
plenty of time. Patrick Waugh. Like I said, it's a rare thing. It's not an impossible thing.
Yeah, and the reason I say that because we're sort of going into like almost a changing of the guard when it comes to like Team Canada, right? Like Connor's going to get to his first Olympics, and McKinnon, and you go down to like guys like Huberdeau. All those guys are going to start making these Olympic teams.
All the guys who were on that Team North America at the World Cup a couple years ago, they're going to get to take over the Olympic squad.
It was interesting to me because we've got a couple of good, really young Canadian goalies, but we've still got the old boys club of Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury still. That's a terrible way to explain it, but
the guys who were there for gold medals in 2010, 2014.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I just thought of this. I just literally just thought of this as you guys were chatting there, but don't worry, I was paying attention. But I think, say Carter Hart had the season he had last year when going to playoffs. Say that was the year he was having going into the Olympics. I would bring him as a third, but I would keep him as the third so he can get the experience and see what it takes. So he's ready 4 years down the road, because I could see him being the starter possibly that season, like that next Olympics.
Yeah, because then you look at the next one, then there's no chance Fleury's still around unless he's kicking at like 44, still playing at a high level. So like there's going to be
27-ish at that point.
Yeah. So definitely going to be an opening there, and it'll be I think that's what they're going to do regardless. Like I don't see a way Carter Hart, just because like he's kind of the future of Team Canada. He's the heir apparent. So I think he definitely gets a look. Mackenzie Blackwood's another guy who's getting a lot of attention. He did a good job with a bad New Jersey team in front of him. I think, it's one of those things where it comes down to the philosophy of the, people putting the team together. And we've seen Canada both have great success and great failures doing that. We saw going into Sochi, like bringing some guys, like having Marc-Edouard Vlasic make the team as a defenseman, going with some defensive guys. But then we've also seen in 2006,
Dan Hanhuse made the team in That
was 2014 as well.
2014 as well, I believe it was. Really? Okay.
But then you look at like 2006, where they go for a more defensive approach with the roster in Turin, and that roster had no success at all, didn't even medal.
Yeah. No, I hear you. The only thing I would say is that when picking these teams, aside from like what you can expect, because like I'm just going off of Carey Price again as an example, what you're going to get from him in the playoffs. I don't think there's ever been a season where in the playoffs he was inconsistent, just unlucky, I guess, if things didn't go his way. But for the most part, he's always the backbone for Montreal. Like this year so far in the short amount of time, the 2 games he has been. Last year,
phenomenal in the bubble. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, amazing! Like
no one thought they were going to win a game against Pittsburgh.
And if you look at the Philly stats, they outscored Philly in that series.
Yep.
And they still lost because the losses were like 2-1, and I think one game may have been 3-2 and all that kind of stuff, 1-0 and all. But aside from like a guy like him, where he's going to step it up for something as great as the Olympics, these teams cannot pick their teams based off of who's expected to play. You got to pick who's hot going into these things.
Yeah.
And that's one thing too, with the guy who might be making the calls for the team, Roberto Luongo, one of the greatest of all time in net. He's a guy who could probably understand that and understand the goaltending position when making that call.
Yeah, definitely. Like how many Team Canada World Junior teams have we had where the team slacked because the guys that were picked were just picked because they're expected to be picked and expected to just do well in the tournament, step it up, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. The funniest thing.
I love to point out names, but I don't want to get in trouble for my future coaching career.
The funniest thing is like we've seen like some Team Canada teams and like the goalies have like, you look back and like how many of those goalies have actually like turned out in the NHL recently? There hasn't been many in like the last few years.
Even the ones that have like not just Canada, but even American goalies, Swedish goalies, how many of them have succeeded in the NHL at the expectations that the scouts put them at? It's like, it's insane because I feel bad for some of these guys because the hockey media puts so much pressure and so much attention to these guys saying, oh, this guy's the best, blah, blah, blah. And people believe it because that's what the hockey insiders are telling you. But then you got guys like us who understand it more, know the little details, nitpick at these things. They're like, no, they're wrong. Yeah. Like why? And like, don't, like some of these announcers, like I got all the respect in the world for some of these old time goalies that are announcers now and broadcasters like Kevin Weeks and Glenn Healy, but they were backup goalies. No offense to them, but he was a starter at one point.
That's
right?
true.
So
yeah.
he gets a little more. Same with Marty Biron. He was somewhat a starter at the beginning of his career. But what did the guys that were like strictly backup goalies, what did they know about being a starting goalie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you look at some guys like Healy too.
Mad Dog thinks we are smarter than NHL insiders. Stamp of approval.
Yeah, you look at like Healy too. Like he was a backup goalie in an era where starters were letting in 7 a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that part of it.
Like the goaltending was not at its peak of its art form when Healy was in.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong though, when those guys, like these guys, like I know I basically just chirped them, but at the same time, when they were called upon, they played like they could play.
Oh, for sure.
Kelly Rudy's the same way.
I mean, there's still guys who played in the NHL, which is a lot better than I've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. But don't get me wrong, we're just being honest here.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to silence my opinion over some of this stuff, right? Like at the end of the day, if it's going to make something better for myself, rather it's playing or coaching later down the road, which is what I want to do, then so be it. But I want to call things out for what they are. Like I see some goalies in the NHL that are supposed to be the best right now, and I'm just like, I can have a team score at least 10 goals on this guy a game because the players don't understand where to shoot on some of these guys.
Yeah.
And that's one thing too, where if we got in trouble every time we called out a player just because they were good, but we were calling them out for something, then we wouldn't have a podcast because all we do is call out guys who are better than me. So
yeah,
that's kind of what our podcast is sometimes.
That's kind of the heart of it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely get what you're saying. It's kind of like
but we're spectators and we understand the game, so we can have a debate, have a healthy debate about some of this stuff. Like there's one thing that Carey Price started doing that I noticed last night, and I guaranteed it was Ron Tugnutt telling him to start doing this. But Carey Price, like he's been great, but he's using the reverse VH way too much now. Like, how many times was the puck in the corner on the half wall and he's down on his knees? If a puck gets loose and gets passed out in front of the slot, he's toast. The only way he's making a save if it's big and flashy, where if he was on his feet, it could have been more simple and easier to make the read and make the save.
True. I feel like that's a lot of the NHL nowadays. I feel like the reverse VH, and even like at lower levels, like watching like junior A hockey or even midget AAA, midget AA, like everyone is just defaulting to RVH.
It's too much. Like my goalie coach back home harps on it. He loves it, but use it at the right time. Like when we do camps, there's a reverse VH drill every single day, if not 1, 2, or 3. But there's a right time to use it and a wrong time to use it. And a lot of times where goalies get in trouble is just when the puck's in the corner or the puck's behind the net and the guy goes down right away where they're not even tight to the net. And there's no point. Why be on your knees when there's a potential option to be a pass out front where you could be on your feet, get out further and more square to the puck and not put yourself out of positioning by sliding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not sure how much Matt's getting on the goalie stuff here, but as a goalie, I completely couldn't agree more.
I think I played one game of ice hockey goalie in my life, and it was in like novice.
Back in novice, using the team pads.
Yeah, it did not go well, by the way.
But anyways, Mad Dog, just as we're wrapping up here, just want to ask, you say, going on your retirement tour, and you say you're thinking about getting the coaching. Is that your plan for sticking around in hockey after, trying to make it as a coach?
Yeah, rather it's just being a full-time goalie coach or possibly becoming an assistant and goalie coach at the same time.
Nice. That's definitely something like, just, talking to you for, the times we have, you definitely got an eye for the game and picking up things like that. You definitely able to pick out too, like if you notice your goalie getting lit up, make sure you change him into the all white pads.
Yeah.
if that's what the trend seems to be.
If that's what the trend is.
Yeah. Or maybe we got to switch them to the colored pads.
Switch them to the colors.
Maybe it's an opposite thing, right?
Yeah, it's all about finding the things no one notices.
Yeah, just little things like that. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you think is going to be most comfortable for you to be able to perform, right?
Yeah.
Well, Mad Dog, we've kept you here for about an hour. It's been fun chatting with you again, getting a nice little follow-up. The last time we had you on was an episode a lot of people really loved. So it was great having you on again. We wish you nothing but the best of luck for next year and with the rest of your career going forward.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, guys. It was fun. Maybe we could do a follow-up 3 at some point.
Absolutely.
Part 3, yeah.
Absolutely. Our fans love it. So I'm sure anytime you're able to come back, it's something we love to do and they'd love to hear.
And maybe I can co-host with you guys.
Maybe we have an opening. Gorzy's on the milk cartons here. We're still trying to find him. So bringing in the Mad Dog too wouldn't be the worst idea in the world.
If there's ever a guy where you're like, we should bring Pete in to ask some questions, feel free to message me, and if I can do it, I'll hop on with you guys.
Beauty.
Our goaltending expert. We're starting to build our portfolio here of our experts, right?
We can bring on a healthy debate.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on, and stay safe out there.
You too, guys. Thank you very much.